Hello there. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your week. If you're in the US, happy Thanksgiving. If I missed you yesterday, I hope you had a great day. Enjoyed your holiday with people you love or people you hate, up to you. Here we don't really celebrate much. My team here is, let's see, aside from the Ticos, the Costa Ricans that work here, my volunteers come from Belgium, one from the US, Argentina, Russia, and maybe that's it. Yeah, I think that's everybody that's here now. So not so much focused on the American holiday. I did get a chance to connect with my family back in the US. We did a Zoom call with everybody. That was nice. And I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving as well. I'm still trying to get live here on Instagram and for some reason not connecting today. I think someone told me I might have a problem with the connector on my phone. Yeah, it says no internet connection. Should be connected, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I think it's just a connection problem here. And I'm gonna try again for a second here. And if I can't get it to work, I'm just gonna leave it alone. Unfortunately, what happens is people get used to seeing me every week, and it was weird because it went yesterday. I recorded a quick live piece here. Yeah, I'm getting no interest in that for the time being. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Gitanjali, good to see you. Good morning to you. Krasimir Sergeyev, nice to see you too. Gitanjali asks, if we don't manage a diet of raw vegan, yet then what's the next best option for us who haven't managed to convert? Well, it's not all or nothing, right? If we look at a continuum of all possible dietary choices, obviously the very best is going to be a raw vegan diet that is a fruit-based diet. So we eat fruit, we eat soft, tender, leafy green salads. I don't see people thriving in very many cases without eating some leafy greens. Personally, I mean, for me, it happens, 2-3 times a week on average, maybe. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But for many of the people I work with seem to do best when they eat leafy greens every day, at least for a while, and then get to a point where maybe they don't need that anymore. But those people who simply try to live on fruit, in most cases, don't do as well. And we know now that there are things that we're getting only from leafy greens that we're not getting from fruit. And that's the reason why I don't recommend eating a diet of only fruits. So much better, in my opinion, with a combination of fruits and leafy greens. Okay? So, for someone who's not being all raw, then the next best would be to be as raw as possible. Someone coined the term raw till 4, which I don't really like because I would say don't eat cooked food every day. That's like, well, every day after 4 o'clock, I'm going to eat cooked food. What I would say is you want to eat no more cooked food than absolutely necessary. So eat as raw as you can. Only fruit if you're eating anything in the morning or midday, only fruit. In the evening, have a big green salad for dinner. If some nights you can't prevent yourself from eating some cooked food, then eat some cooked food. But you want to minimize that, and you want to keep it as clean as you can. So if it's not 100% raw vegan, then it's 100% vegan. And it's maybe 90% raw. I mean, I don't know what the percentages actually mean, but the idea is that most of what you consume is actually raw. Okay, it would be whole foods, not smoothies and juices, not a bunch of processed stuff, not a bunch of gourmet raw food. You can do those things occasionally if you, but you're always going to get the best results by keeping your meals as simple as possible, because this ensures that we optimize digestion, assimilation, absorption. Ultimately, the key is to get as much benefit as we can from the food we eat. We're only going to do that when we're actually eating as simply as we can. The more complex the meals, the harder it is for the body to get what it needs from those meals. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, let me scroll up here a little bit. Let's see, which is the worst evil, cooked food or non-vegan? It would probably depend on exactly what we're talking about. I mean, non-vegan is pretty bad. So no one should eat any meat at all. No one's going to benefit from using dairy products. We should be eating vegan. Now, there's lots of vegan food that's garbage. Again, whole foods as much as possible. Before I went raw, I spent 5 years eating whole foods. Nothing processed, nothing in a package. I mean, with the exception of rice and beans you buy in packages, but that was it. These were basically, I mean, rice, of course, is fragmented. It's a grain, been processed. We don't eat the whole grains. We can't eat whole grains where our bodies don't digest those. But these are pretty minor compromises in terms of a whole food diet. For the most part, it was fruits and vegetables and grains and beans, some nuts and seeds. That's it. That would be the best that you can do, and as much raw as possible. Okay. Mother Sriracha, good morning to you. Trying to stay optimistic. And I can't think of any reason not to be optimistic. I mean, we live in a crazy world. There's all kinds of unpleasant things happening right now, and there are people out there gunning for us who don't necessarily want everyone on the planet because it's a little overcrowded and are looking to take some of us out. But I still stay optimistic because I believe in focusing on those things I have control over, right? This is the basis of the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom. So I focus my time and energy in those places that I can have some impact. The things I have absolutely no control over and can't have any impact, I don't waste my time there. There's no point in that as far as I'm concerned. Okay, that's the way I stay optimistic. Mani Mosin, hello there. Good to see you from Dubai. Glad you're here. I hope you're having a great day. Eric says, morning. You said before that the leaner you are when fasting, the more intense the feeling of weakness. Again, why is that? Is that true even when lean and fat, both plenty of muscle? Yeah, that is very simple. The reason that this is so is because the lean body, I mean, it's not 100% true. There's not a 100% correlation. It's not going to be a straight line at 45 degrees, which is what that would suggest if we were plotting the relationship between those two things, because there's other factors. But the reason why people who are very lean usually feel quite weak when fasting, and more so than people who are fat, who are overweight, is because the lean body says, don't move. There's not a lot of excess reserves. Okay, your body wants to conserve its precious reserves. And so if you don't have a lot of reserves, your body's going to tell you not to move. And that's going to feel like weakness. That's what's going on there. That's why that happens. Okay, so yeah, it's not it's not rocket science. It's a pretty simple concept. If you have fewer reserves than somebody else and your body wants to consume primarily fat, so if you have fewer fat reserves, you are likely to feel more weak and more tired when you fast. Now, of course, there are people who may have more fat reserves, but who may also be dealing with other issues. For instance, if you are dealing with Lyme disease or Candida, there's a couple of examples. As these organisms die off, you tend to feel Lyme is different, but you tend to feel quite weak and toxic, kind of a weakness, and so people can feel weak for that reason as well. But yes, it's typically true that regardless of how much muscle somebody has, they're going to feel. Now, I mean, obviously, physical strength, because weakness and tiredness are often kind of confused a little bit. They are different. Really what's happening is the tiredness that says don't move. Right now, You know, if I had to move and I have plenty of muscle, I'm still going to be able to move my body, no problem. Okay, unless I'm detoxing heavily. All right, so the more someone is detoxifying, because it's the presence of toxins in the bloodstream. So there's that factor as well. And there's the simple factor of, if I start very little muscle, because my body is consuming muscle, I'm going to wind up feeling weaker the less muscle I have. But you have all three of those things happening. Typically, the leaner somebody is, the weaker they feel, relatively speaking, right, to somebody else who's, you know, if we could say a muscle and the same amount of toxicity, same amount of detoxification happening, they're going to feel just as weak. Okay. Now, someone who's leaner is also, the toxins in the body fat might be more concentrated. Okay. Let's say they have the same toxic load as someone who's much bigger and has those toxins more dispersed throughout their body fat. And so as the leaner person loses fat at a slower rate, they might actually be detoxifying faster and may feel weak and tired for that reason as well. Okay, so we have a couple of super chats. I'm going to scroll down. By the way, just a reminder for those people here who haven't been able, or aren't perhaps based on where you live, or if you're listening to this later on and you can't make a super chat except for when we're live. So if you wanted to make a donation but you're not live, we finally got Patreon up. When I say we, I mean not me. I mean someone on my team took over and said, I'll make this happen, because ultimately I'm too busy with simply talking to clients and doing recording videos, etc., to do a lot of the details, the administrative stuff. So that's up and working now. And if you're unable to make a super chat, to be live here when I'm live, or if you're living in a place where this function doesn't work, as is true in some places, you can go to Patreon and search for my name, and you can make a contribution there, a one-time contribution, or if you prefer to support our work on a monthly basis. Our work, I want you to know I've got a team of people. I have 15 employees and 6 or 7 volunteers who live here, who are producing videos, who are producing the programs that we're doing. Those people need to be housed and fed, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a lot of expense involved in me being able to be here. And so you are supporting all of that, okay? Contributions to me don't actually go to my pocket. They go to the book of the enterprise. That's supporting a lot of people here, okay? All right, so let me go to the first one here. It looks like that would be Ian. Ian 44444444, who says, different blood type diets are popular. I guess you'll say that in a natural state, we would not know our blood group. Could it be used to choose fruits as different people react to different fruits? No, it's a great question. It's a fair question, because these diets are popular. There are people who believe in this. So first of all, science has looked at this. There is, as far as I can see, zero science to actually support the idea that people with a particular blood type, type A, type O, type AB, whatever it is, should eat a particular way. Okay, I've seen nothing to support that in the scientific literature. When we look at animals, here's the thing. Keep in mind there are, it's estimated 25 million different animal species. Most of those are insects. But 25 million different animal species, all of whom have a species-specific diet, which means every gray squirrel eats the same food, every bald eagle eats the same food, every bottlenose dolphin eats the same food, every blue whale eats the same food, et cetera, okay? And other species also have different blood types, okay? They have different blood types just like we do, but they all have the same diet. So there is no reason to believe that the blood type diet makes any sense. Now, furthermore, I ran a laboratory of sorts. So we didn't set it up exactly as a laboratory, but what happened was, for 12 or 13 years, we ran an internship program, which was 17 weeks in length, started with a 21-day fast and a week of refeeding, and then 13 more weeks on site. We had 127 people go through that process, 17-week process. There were a handful, 5 or 6 people did it twice, and we had 1 or 2 people actually do it 3 times. And everybody thrived. Everybody, regardless of blood type, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of where in the world they came from, regardless of their cultural diet, right? It didn't make any difference. None of those things mattered. Everybody thrived living on only fruit and salad. No nuts and seeds, with the exception of the very occasional special meal. When I say very occasional, I mean, in a 13-week internship, that's after the 4 weeks of fasting or feeding, where they're either only drinking water for 21 days and then only eating fruit and leafy greens for 7 days. In the 13 weeks after that, there might have been 1 meal where there might have been some nuts or seeds. And that didn't even always happen. Okay, that would happen occasionally for most of those people. I think in the earlier days, we did more of those gourmet type meals. And then I finally decided, every time we do this, everyone feels bad. What's the point? Why are we doing this? Okay, let's stop doing this. And so we don't do those kinds of things very often anymore. Okay, so thank you so much for the 10-pound contribution, Ian. I hope this makes sense. It's clear to me that there's no support for this idea that we should eat differently based on diets. Now, one more thing I'll say about this. I think maybe where it comes from is the idea that there are certain, I think I've talked with geneticists. In fact, I was in London probably 6 or 7 years ago now on a lecture tour, and had dinner with a PhD geneticist who was there for a big epigenetics conference. And we talked about this issue. And I said to him, I had this hypothesis. I said, does it make sense that people from the UK, whose ancestral home, their ancestors all came from that part of the world, would they have been likely to share a blood type? And he said, yes, that's probably what happened. So people from someplace else might have had a different blood type. Now today, we're all mixtures. We're all mutts, right? I think, as far as we know, 3 of my 4 grandparents came from the same place, but I don't know where their parents and grandparents came from, right? People moved, people changed, people, if you've never seen it, there was a really interesting video that showed up online a few years ago, advertising, but it was more than that. It was really interesting. It was a service where, you can send, I'm not sure, I guess it was a little bit of blood or something. And they tell you your genetic background, what your genetic makeup is, like what your ancestry is. And it was interesting because when they did this, if you didn't see it, there was a group of maybe 40 or 50 people. And they said, at the end, they had brought everyone back together, and they said, 2 of you here are related to each other. They were cousins, and they didn't know each other, and they didn't know they were related. And it turns out that, the people who thought they were 100% Italian, in fact, had much more of a blend, a mix of genes from different places than they thought they did. And so it may well be true that if you had a specific blood type, you might be more likely to be tolerant to dairy products, where most people on the planet can't tolerate dairy products because we don't make lactase, and we shouldn't make lactase after infancy because there's no reason for us to ever consume dairy products again. Breast milk is for infants, and no other species consumes milk after infancy, so our bodies stop producing lactase. But those people who grew up in certain parts of the world, mostly Northwestern Europe, if that's where their ancestry is from, those people have historically eaten a lot of dairy products, and the body adapted and continued producing lactase beyond where it would normally stop. And the same may be true for people who can tolerate gluten. Most people can't tolerate gluten. Most people should not be eating gluten-containing foods. Everyone does, but most people shouldn't be eating them because they can't tolerate it. But if your ancestry came from a place where people always ate those foods, you may have a blood type it may be that blood type is more likely to be able to tolerate those things. But tolerating them is very different than saying you should eat them. Remember, people who consume the most dairy on the planet also have the highest rates of osteoporosis. Now, people who consume the most dairy are the people that can tolerate the most dairy, but they also have the highest rates of osteoporosis. So caused by eating dairy products, exactly the opposite of what the dairy industry wants you to believe. Okay, so I don't think there's anything to the blood type theory. All right, I'm set. Hi, Loren. Are you against using a sauna for detoxing? And do I have a choice to eat what fruit I want after fasting with you? Pineapples are my favorite. Okay. I'm not. We don't offer saunas here currently. Fasting because you sweat out electrolytes. So when you're eating, when you're living your normal life, if you want to use a sauna, it should be an infrared sauna. And than they used to, because it used to be that infrared lamps put out a lot of EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, which we want to stay away from. Regular saunas are simply too hot and are dehydrating and imbalancing to the body, but the infrared saunas had all this EMF going on. So now they're much better. And if you choose to use a sauna for detoxing when you're not fasting, that's okay. You would never want to do anything that had you sweating while fasting. Now, obviously, if you have a fever and you sweat, that's okay. That's your body initiating this. But the problem is that when you're sweating, you're losing electrolytes. So you want to be very careful, cautious about doing things that have you sweating more than you need to, okay? You don't want to do something that's going to make you sweat. And the fact is that we don't actually do so much detoxification through the skin. Okay, we don't. I mean, I have a client who has chosen, after trying everything else, to eliminate parasites, including fasting. I mean, we see people eliminating parasites with fasting all the time, but it doesn't always work. In her case, it hasn't seemed to work, and so she decided finally going to have to take antibiotics. Okay, now the antibiotics, in reading the insert, it said 75% of this will be eliminated in the urine, which is how the body eliminates most of the garbage from the body, and 25% in the stool. Actually, I think it might have been the other way around, okay? Which means what? It means that much of what's going in there is passing right through the body unchanged. That's what's being eliminated through the stool, 75%. 25% in the urine. None of it's being eliminated through the skin, okay? We don't do most detoxification through the skin. It's relatively minor. We sweat mostly for temperature regulation. There is some detoxification that happens, but it's not a significant percentage of what's happening. And so putting yourself, in a state where you're going to be more dehydrated, which is what happens to most people, it's probably not such a good idea. If you use it intelligently, I think it's probably okay. All right. All right. There's a question here about what do I think about Brian Clement? They say fruit is bad. Which I responded to. And what I told you was, we are natural frugivores, period, regardless of what anybody says, okay, regardless of who they are, okay? My personal feelings about Brian Clement aside, he's wrong about this, period, end of story. I mean, I've worked with thousands of people, including people who followed his type of diet, which is no fruit, leafy greens, tons of fat, because there's no calories in leafy greens, tons of fat, heavy sprouts, right? And most sprouts are toxic, mildly toxic to us. Heavy sprouts, wheatgrass juice, things like this. Are there some benefits to those things? Perhaps, but are they optimal for us? Absolutely not. We are frugivores, just like the primates with whom we share 98, 99% of our DNA and have almost an identical digestive tract. Okay, so. All right. I mean, I've answered you twice now. I don't care what anyone else says. We are natural frugivores. Oh, I hadn't really. When you are refeeding, you do have a choice in terms of what you can eat. You cannot eat pineapples the first couple days. You can eat pineapples on day 3 of refeeding, but only once per day. Okay. Why? Because your mouth is going to be much more sensitive. And pineapples, many people find that they burn their mouths with pineapples after fasting. Okay, and so we're going to be a little bit cautious about how much pineapple you get. But you can eat pineapples every day from day 3 on if you choose to, and you water who have thumbs up it. For the rest of you, hope you can still hear me. I'm getting a message. I've got a weak connection here. For the rest of you, if you are enjoying this, if you think this is beneficial, please feel free to go ahead and give it a thumbs up as well. Okay, Krasimir has made a $9.99 Bulgarian contribution with the question, can the body get old hard material by eating nuts, or it gets it only by eating cooked foods? You can build this up by eating nuts as well. Okay, anything which is low, see, in order to move things efficiently and effectively through the 32 feet, that's almost 10 meters of digestive tract, you need to be consuming things that are high in water and high in fiber. Okay, nuts. So if you want to eat small quantities of nuts and seeds, you can, but they're not something in a really healthy body we need to be eating very much of, if at all. I mean, I virtually never eat them, and when I do eat them, it's a compromise. Okay, I honestly had some last week. I was at the beach. I found some raw macadamias. Macadamias are amazing. They're the fattiest nut. You know, they're sweet and they're fat. They're amazing. They're like dessert nuts, right? But hard to stop eating. And you had too many. I felt it. Okay, I definitely notice it. We should eat very, very few of these things. Anything that's low in water and fiber is likely to get stuck, even if it's only a tiny amount, right? If 1/10 of a gram gets stuck with every meal, and the average person eats 5 times a day, it's 0.5 gram per day, 187.5 grams per year, 1,870 grams in 10 years. Okay, that's a lot of stuff stuck in the system. In 50 years' time, we're talking about 4.5, what is that? 10, almost 10 kilos of material. Okay, 9+ kilos of material that are stuck. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're going to eat nuts and seeds, tiny quantities, always soaked first, not things we really should be consuming very much of. Okay, Stephanie, hello there. I'm so sorry. I saw that you sent me a message. I've been super busy. I know I need to respond to you. I will respond to you today. Thank you so much for being here, and forward to seeing you as well. I hope. I'm seeing people getting locked down. I just yesterday heard from someone in Canada who said her flight was canceled. She was supposed to be. I don't know what's going to happen again. I mean, I was afraid that as soon as flu season was upon us in North America and Europe, you know, they're going to lock people down again. So let's hope that's not what happens. We're looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the crew. We have quite a group coming soon, theoretically. We shall see what happens. All right. Glad you're here. Hello, I see a sheer in there. Hello, Loren. Can fasting heal emotional problems? Yeah, absolutely. Sheer, fasting is, I mean, let's be absolutely, first of all, absolutely clear, where I'd like to be as clear about this as possible. Fasting doesn't heal anything, right? Because the body's self-healing. But what fasting does is fasting allows us to be present to our emotions in ways that we're normally not. Now, there are some things that happen just as a result of fasting. As a result of fasting, there is changes in our neurochemistry. Okay, so there are neurochemical changes, which mean much less anxiety, much less depression if they're feeling these things. You know, people tend to feel much more positive, much less anxious, much more peace. Things change. That's a physical change happening because of the chemistry of the brain. But the other thing that happens is we have this amazing opportunity to be to what's going on, to what we're feeling. And if we're willing to simply be present to those emotions, there's an opportunity to actually resolve them, to feel them completely, to be willing to sit within the sadness, with and in the sadness, okay, with and in the anger, okay, to sit with it and to sit in it, right, to just be in it. I'm angry, I'm feeling that. Because if I'm willing to simply feel it, what happens is if I can just stay in that energy and feel it, eventually, before too long, it will dissipate of its own accord. And so we see most people seeing huge resolution, huge shifts in their emotional body, their emotional being as a result of that. There, Michael's made a €528 contribution. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. It's always good to see you. Just got my root canal tooth out. It had a big fat cyst, a bacteria nest attached to it. So grateful. Thanks, Loren, for your work. And I'm guessing that the gratitude and thanks are because in a previous conversation, Michael and I have worked together. I said to Michael, root canals have to go. Okay, so if you're not clear about what I just said, I'll just repeat because this is so important to understand. Root canals where the root dies, so you have a dead tooth that's still sitting there. And what they do is they take the root out, they leave the tooth, and they fill the hole with some unnatural material. And they think, well, because the hole's filled, it should be fine. It's not fine. What happens is that material does not adhere to the socket. You wind up with pockets of bacteria. Okay? There are people who believe this can actually lead to heart disease and to very, very serious health challenges. And Michael's saying there was a bacterial nest attached to the dead tooth. Had it taken out, much better. You have it taken out completely, okay? And now the thing can actually heal. Okay, and this is a far better option. Now, what you do after that depends. If the tooth is right in front, you might not want to leave a hole. You can do a bridge, which is connected to the teeth on either side with a fake tooth there. You can do an implant, which means drilling into the bone. You can do an appliance that you wear that has a tooth attached to it. It's like a retainer that goes up in hair when there's a tooth there. And there's actually another process, and I'd have to find it. But someone from Europe told me about a process that he was familiar with that they're doing, which is, I forget exactly how it differs. I have to go back and take a look at it, but it's supposed to be much better than either the bridge or the implant. Okay, so it's almost like it's a fake tooth, but your body interacts with it like it's a real tooth. I think that's what's happening. Anyway, thank you so much for your contribution, your kind words, Michael. I'm always glad to see you. Okay, Hema, hello there, Hema. By the way, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I don't know if it's Hema or Gemma, and I apologize because I've heard it both ways. I mean, in Spanish it would be Hema. I guess in you're Canadian, it's probably Gemma. Let me try that, Gemma. And I saw your message yesterday. I need to respond to you as well. Gemma says, hey, Loren, what are your thoughts on, I believe that there is some truth to the idea that cilantro can help remove metals from the body. We see this happening with fasting without using anything. Cilantro, like all other culinary herbs, is mildly toxic to us. And so, if you're dealing with a heavy metal problem, then it might well be worth it. It might make sense to eat some cilantro or some parsley or something else that can do the same. As soon as that's handled, you want to stop eating those things because they are mildly toxic to us. And the more mildly toxic stuff we eat, the more toxic we become, right? So we want to minimize the consumption of these things as much as possible. But yes, I believe that there is some truth to that. And I will respond to you. I think I should be able to get back to you later on today with your message. Okay, so that's all the super chats we have for the time being. I'm going to scroll back up to the top and work my way back down. When I had stopped earlier. Okay, I think it's here. Neil Brown, good morning. Good morning, Neil. Jonas Nielsen, what happens if they don't eat leafy greens? Well, they're gonna be missing on having some nutrients that they need. There's things that we're not really gonna get from only fruit. Adam Bell says, hi, Loren, how long would it take to digest a meal of 2 to 3 honeydew melons or 4 to 5 medium mangoes? Also, what are the signs of hunger? Okay, so how long it takes to digest these things probably varies from person to person, but the melons are likely to digest in once you stop eating, because that's really the question. You can't count the eating time. It could take you an hour to eat that many melons. I don't know how fast you eat. Hopefully not too fast. But once you've completed eating the melons, you're going to digest those melons in probably no more than 45 minutes. The mangoes could take a little bit longer, probably between 45 and 60 minutes. Most fruitations, if you're combining things, that's going to take longer. But mono fruit meals, in most cases, no more than an hour. Again, we have a message of a poor connection here, so I hope you can hear me. It's gone. With some fruits, it might take, with some of the heavier, denser, lower water content fruits, it might take longer than an hour, no more than 2 hours with probably any fruits. But in most cases, between 45 and 60 minutes with the high water content fruits like melons and mangoes. Okay. All right, Eric Ferris. Oh, signs of hunger. Well, the only real sign of hunger, there's two things that happen. One, there's a pleasant tickling sensation in the back of the throat. Two, there's a knowingness. There's this knowingness that you need to eat, and that's it. It's it has nothing to do with the stomach, has nothing to do with weakness, tiredness, dizziness, being hangry, any of that stuff. None of that stuff has anything to do with hunger. That's all detoxification. Real hunger is felt in the throat. It's a pleasant tickling sensation, and there's a knowledge. Okay, it's time to eat. You have this knowingness. I need to eat now. Okay, that's something most people have probably never experienced. All right, we have another super chat. I'm going to scroll back down here to Those Love Songs, who has made a $35 contribution. Thank you so much. I say this every time that you're present. I don't remember seeing you last week, although I may be mistaken. But I appreciate you being here, and I always appreciate your very generous contributions. Thank you. Again, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. There's usually not a question. In this case, there's no questions or comments, just a contribution. Thank you so much. Feel free to email me if I can assist you in any way. Okay? info@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com is the best email address, because it's not only my eyes that see that. If you want to have it be only my eyes, send it to Loren, but I miss some of those because I've got so much going on. Okay? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, let's see. Ann Osborne has supposedly strict fruitarian for decades and reports no big issues. What's going on there in your opinion? I don't know, Eric. It may well be that Ann is simply unaware. People are often unaware of what's going on until it's already happened. It's already too late. I don't know. I've known Ann online. I've never met her in person. As you know, I don't go to events that I'm politically excluded from, and so we've never actually met in person. But yeah, you can tell Ann. Research is clear. There are things we're only getting from leafy greens. I can tell you my body, which is pretty clean. I've done a lot of fasting, probably more than Ann. Have kept a clean diet, and yet my body tells me it wants leafy greens 2-3 times a week. Sometimes less, sometimes it's not at all for 2 or 3 weeks, but then it really wants them. Like all of a sudden there's this strong message to eat some leafy greens. So I know people, I'm not saying this is Ann, but I know people who it's an ego-based thing where they're thinking, it's better, I'm better somehow, I'm lighter, I'm healthier because I only need fruit. I don't know. I know a couple other people, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. Personally, I don't see any idea. Maybe you'll be okay without them. Maybe you won't. Why not just eat some leafy greens? Personally, I love leafy greens in a simple salad or with a mono fruit meal. Greens and lettuce. Tastes good to me. So there's no reason for me to avoid eating them, right? In the meantime, my body's telling me it wants them, so I keep eating them. That's all I can tell you. Okay. We have another super chat here. Ian has made another £5 contribution and said, I know mono meals are optimal, but how much of a compromise is mixing fruits the same classification? Thank you. Valuable time every Friday. Ian, you are very welcome. Honestly, I'm so glad to be here. Like I enjoy this. I'm happy to be here to be able to share whatever I can. I'm grateful that there are people that are interested. I've dedicated my adult life to helping people who are committed to their own health and maximizing their own potential. Needless to say, lots of people aren't. And lots of people aren't even interested in the truth. They just want to believe what they want to believe. I'm really glad that I can spend this time with all of you, and very grateful for those of you who, especially who are contributing to the work, because frankly, it's been a challenging time. And even, even if it weren't for these other projects, and that's harder to do now than it's ever been, because income has been a bit more difficult than it's been before. Now, there's a couple to remind you of, and then I'll come back to your question, Ian. I apologize for a little commercial here, but just a reminder for anybody interested. First of all, I'm going to be doing something I've never done before in English. When, normally when we're closed now. Normally I would be traveling and speaking now. This is the first year in 20 years I'm not traveling and speak lectures and seminars all over the world, many times in the UK, throughout Europe, in various countries, including Holland, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Spain, a lot of countries in Eastern Europe, in Poland, in Germany, in Serbia, in Croatia, in Slovenia, et cetera, as well as in South and Central America. And what I normally do is I offer a introductory lecture followed by a full day seminar. Okay. Now the full day seminar is typically about 8 hours. And that means I've got about, with a lunch break and some bathroom breaks, I've got 6.5 or so hours to actually speak. And what we're going to be doing in English for the first time is offering that seminar online in 5 2-hour segments. So instead of 6.5 hours, I'm going to offer 10 hours. It's like 50% more time than I'm usually able to offer when I do the seminar. It's going to be starting, well, we're still working on some of the details. I was going to start earlier in November and had so much else going on right now, which I'll tell you about in just a second, that I decided to hold off on this. But this is coming soon, and it's an amazing program. And so I'm still looking to see if there's something, if I can start this right away. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to make a quick hop up to Miami, and that's going to make it a little bit harder. But this is probably going to, there's going to be a small charge for the introductory lecture. We're going to charge people for that, and where there's going to be a charge, of course, for the seminar. And if you book the seminar in advance, you don't pay for the intro. Okay, you can pay for the one and then the other, or you can pay for the first one, the second one, and get the first one free. And 100% of the proceeds go to the nature preserve. Okay, we're in the process of setting up a foundation which will own that land, and we are in the process of buying land to protect and preserve it. And all of the proceeds from this will go to that project. Okay, 100%. I'm not taking anything from this myself. That will be coming soon. One of the other projects I've been working very hard on, there's 2 others right now. One of them is the Skype coaching program. When I guide people through the fasting process via Skype, which I've been doing now for 13 plus years without a single day's break. I've always spoken to at least one person every day of that time. During this last 8 months, about 4 months ago, I thought, I guess I've been thinking about this for a while. How can we make this program even better? How can we improve this and make it even better than it is? Because now it's just me on a call with people, and I'm just looking, because I've got a call in 5 minutes, so we don't have much more time. I see there's another super chat here. I'm going to stop in just a minute here to get on that 10 o'clock call. People enjoy it and get amazing benefits from it, but I wanted to make it even better for them. How can we provide more support? So our new program still involves hour-long, 1-hour group calls. There's going to be up to 6 people on it with your blood pressure. You need machines, take your blood pressure and pulse. That's one machine. Weight and temperature. You can have other devices which give us more information, which makes it even more interesting and helps us track more of what's happening. but it's an amazing process. You know, it used to be you would just send me your numbers. Now we have it really organized for you so we can track it all. We can easily see what's going on. It's the same for everybody. Everyone's using the same spreadsheet. There's a place for your comments. You complete it every day. You don't have to send me anything. You just complete the spreadsheet on your screen. I can see it because it's a shared Google document. And in addition to the daily calls, 1 hour calls, where I speak with each person about what's going on for them, about what those numbers mean, there's also going to be a 1 hour weekly Zoom call for only those people fasting with me, okay, where you're going to have a much better chance of getting your questions answered because it's going to be just that group. And you're going to get a daily email with me, written information, and a daily video from me based on where you are in the process every day. We're not charging anything more for the program. It's just how to make the program even better. I've had someone dedicated to this program, working on this program for months. We're almost ready to go. It might be another week or so before we're ready to put that program up. And that's coming soon. This has been taking a lot of time. It's coming soon. And we are working on the biggest program of all. This is the Academy for Vibrant Living. It is an online academy. The first program is called Vibrant Living. It is a health and nutrition course. It will take most people 3 to 6 months to complete it. We are going to be offering a beta program, and this is to test and make sure we have all the bugs out. Assisting us by doing the beta version of it. I see that we have reconnection. Yeah, okay. The beta program is going to be half of the normal rate. We're only going to take 100 people at the beta price. So we're going to be coming up probably in about a week. We're going to be putting that up online. The program will be live by the 1st of January, but we're going to be offering the beta program within a week or so, and there's only going to be 100 spaces available, okay? It's not cheap. It's an investment. There will be a payment plan for those people that don't want to, or aren't able to make one payment. You'll be able to make it in various payments. The gentleman working with me on this is a certified health coach and has taken another program. So we know what that looks like. We know what the other programs look like as well. And our program is much more comprehensive. The second course is the health coaching course. So if you want to be a health coach, you can sign up for both of those programs. If you want to just do the personal health piece, you can do that one. You can do that one, and then you can always sign up for the second one later on. There's a better price if you register for both of them together. Again, that goes live in about a week with the beta program. Only 100 spaces available. So what you want to do, you're going to want to be ready for that. Okay? That's all stuff I've been working on, and that's why the other program got put on hold for the time being. One more quick piece I want to mention. I say I'm already late now, and I still have 2 more comments to respond to, and that is that the big project, as I mentioned, is coming forward. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another live broadcast in the next week or so where I talk about that program again, the community, and what that program looks like, that whole project, what that's about, why we're doing it, how you can get involved in various different ways. We need to raise money for that in order for that to continue forward. We have raised quite a bit, but we have the big, has the highest waterfall in Central America. Is an expensive piece of land, and controlling that is going to be the keystone for the whole project. It's, we're building everything around this. And so we've got a couple months to raise the money for that, and there's an opportunity now to get involved. I'll talk about that very soon. In the meantime, let me come back to Ian. Thank you, Ian, for your patience. Okay, so how much of a compromise is fruits of the same classification? Well, so first of all, when you say classification, if you're talking about mixing acid fruits with acid fruits, that's considered a reasonably good combination. But of course, the more similar those acids, have not given this a thumbs up yet. Are you not enjoying this? Am I not doing enough for you? If you're liking this, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, okay? Please do. Feel free to share the recording, which will be available within about 15, 20 minutes of if you like this and you think this is positive stuff and helpful to people, please give it a thumbs up, okay? So acid fruits are good, but for instance, oranges and grapefruits are better. That's even better, okay? So please just keep in mind that the more similar two things are, the better the combination is going to be. Granny Smith apples and Granny Smith apples are the best combination. Granny Smith apples and some other kind of apple are the next best combination. And apples and pears would be the next combination after that. Now, the subacid combination is a huge, subacid group of fruits is a huge group, just so well together, even though they're both subacid. The idea is you want things that are as similar as possible to each other, okay? I see my call has started without me, so they'll be okay without me for a couple minutes, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to have to get to that in just a minute. Okay, so keep in mind that, it's not a huge compromise, but it's a compromise. The very best digestion is going to occur when you keep it to one type of fruit at a time. And so that's what I do the vast majority of the time. It's what's always best. And every once in a while, I'll make exceptions where I'm doing my best to make sure that the exceptions are also good combinations, okay, within the same family, within the same classification, okay? Thank you very much, Ian. I appreciate, again, the contribution and the question. And M. Will has made a $15 contribution. Thank you so much for your kind support and said, thank you for the inspiration to stay on the raw diet throughout the week. We're also appreciative of your time and your willingness to share the truth. I am so grateful for your comment. I am really happy to be here. As I said earlier, I am really, really, really grateful to have the opportunity to spend my life doing something that I'm so passionate about. There's a lot of things I could do. I have a lot of interests, and I'm reasonably accomplished in various different areas. I believe the most important thing I can do is what I'm doing here. And so I'm grateful for that you're here. I would feel really silly being here every week doing these live broadcasts if no one was here with me. So I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much. I see Carrie. Hello there, Carrie. Nice to see you. It's glitching a little bit. I'm not surprised. I can see that we're having some poor connection. We have some connection issues here today. So, folks, I've got to go. I'm late for a call with a group of clients that are fasting with me. In fact, I'm not sure yet when I'll do the Las Cascadas broadcast, but I'm going to see if I can find a time sometime in the next week or two. We have a lot going on. We're still wrapping up. We've got 2 more modules to finish videotaping for the living course. And then all the materials recorded, and where it's just a question of finishing, the process of getting everything together on the website, putting together everything so that people can register and pay and all that. That should be done soon. As I said, in about a week or so, we should be offering the beta version of that program, of that course. Okay, Adam has just made a contribution. Thank you, Adam. 5 pounds. How long would it take to digest a meal of 2 or 3 honeydew melons or 4 to 5 mangoes? I answered this earlier. I'm not sure if you didn't see my answer. I thought it was here that I answered this, but it would take 45 to 60 minutes to digest those meals for most people. It's going to vary from person to person, but it's going to take 45 to 60 minutes. And how does one know hunger and satiation? That's okay. Hunger is a pleasant tickling sensation in the back of the throat and a knowingness that you need to eat. Satiation is simply, first of all, to feel satiation, you have to really be tuned in to your body. You have to be present to what's happening in the body. If you are, then you will feel when I've had enough. I simply know, okay, that's enough. Yesterday I had a watermelon that was probably a little bigger than I should have selected, and I wound up leaving 2 or 3 pieces. They're going to go in the fridge. We have a family here now with 2 little kids. They eat all day long. Maybe one of those ate my staff also, is welcome to eat fruit here anytime. And so somebody will have eaten those pieces of watermelon. I'm not going to stick it in my, shove it in my face just because I've already cut it. I'm not going to do that. That's enough for my body. If I eat any more than that, it's an insult to my body. Okay? That's it. Oh, Rachel, I do have a call waiting. You can save your question, Rachel, or if you'd like, you can email me your question, and I'll be glad to respond to you later on. Thank you so much for your support. Rachel's made a 5-pound contribution, and I love you guys. I'll look forward to seeing you all next time, whatever that is. Okay? Bye-bye.